Hello, and welcome back to the Empower Her podcast. I am someone that used to replay literally every single word of every single sentence that I said in a meeting, to a friend, to someone new that I met, in a text message. I would replay every outfit I wore. I would literally live my life as if I was being recorded by a camera crew for my reality TV show 24/7. And the thing is I'm a Leo rising, right? So me imagining cameras on myself is not surprising in and of the least. However, if you're someone like me that obsesses or used to obsess over what other people would think about your choices, your posts, your work, we need to have a conversation, okay? Because at the end of the day, this isn't about confidence. It's about reclaiming your energy from the invisible audience in your head. I thought that I was confident because I was thinking, oh, people are watching me. I have a spotlight on me, right? But really what it was a lack of confidence because I was always worried about how I was being perceived. I was always worried about what other people would think of me, right? And what we end up doing is we put ourselves in this cage, in this prison, and we don't let ourselves out. And this is the main problem because this affects the way we show up, how we show our personality, basically who we are. So why do we imagine people are always thinking about us? Like, where does this come from? Obviously, social conditioning, a lot of it, right? Especially for women, we're taught that we need to be likable, we need to be impressive, we need to please others, right? We're taught to be small. We're taught that we should be seen, not heard. And we're taught that people are watching and judging our every single move, right? And then if we add a neurodivergent flair to it, right? Neurodivergent individuals often develop a people watching awareness for their own safety because they feel like they're different than others. They have to mask, right? So it's more of a safety aspect. And then this turns inward and then they hyper focus so that they spend more time thinking about what other people are thinking about them. We also have the spotlight effect, which is, psychological research that shows that we overestimate how much people notice us. Okay, so this is what the spotlight effect is. Basically, we think people are watching us more than they actually are. We think people look and focus us way more than they actually do. Most people don't even think about us that deeply, right? And then we tie in all of this with our online culture, right? Which we've had in the last 10, 15 years of being chronically online. We have, we share posts, we share more about our lives to a bigger audience. We feel like we're exposed and then we assume we're being judged. Oftentimes we are being judged, but it's just whether that matters or not is what it comes down to. And then of course we have comments, interactions, DM messages, especially if you're someone who has a platform like myself. I have, a decent amount of followers online and I was worried about that at the beginning. So you start performing for people who aren't even watching, right? It's one thing to be on TikTok and people are watching your videos. I guarantee if you watch 200 TikToks a day, you maybe remember one of those and not in a lot of detail. But if you're looking at your whole personal life, you're performing for people who aren't even watching, people who literally don't care. And I say this with love, but literally don't care. So I want to talk about from a perspective, not to scare you, but just to understand is what the cost is of living like you're being watched, okay? If you're someone that, for example, hesitates to try new things because you think, oh, what will people think? They'll see me fail. What will happen? Do you stop yourself from applying to jobs or reaching out to people because you're worried how they will feel? This is so many of my clients. I work with career coaching clients who are trying to find new jobs. And every time I hear, so often, 9 times out of 10, what are they going to say when I email them? What are they going to think about me? What are they going to respond, right? Constantly. And so what end up happening is you water yourself down to a smaller version of yourself. You edit your creativity. You lose your authenticity, right? Because you're not being your authentic version. And what ends up happening is then because of all of these things, you actually delay action because of imagined judgment, right? So delayed action means you don't post the content, you don't launch the project, you don't wear the bold color you want to, you don't apply to the job, you don't send the email, right? because you're worried about what others will think or what they will judge you on. And then not only that, not only do you delay action, which causes you to not reach your goals or to reach them at a slower rate, you waste so much mental energy managing your image instead of focusing on what actually matters and what actually moves the needle. So what does this do? This causes you to feel exhausted. It causes you to burn out, and you're trying to be palatable to everyone when that's actually not possible. Like, there will always be someone that doesn't like you. There will always be someone that doesn't jive with you. There will always be someone that you don't get along with, but it goes vice versa. And I think it's like we live in this world where we need everyone to like us, but I actually think that that's the wrong approach. Is we just need to have those few people around us who we mutually have good relationships with. And even in job searching, I always tell my clients, like, okay, what's the worst that can happen if you apply to a job? The worst that can happen is you literally get a rejection and nothing happens, right? That is the worst case scenario. But what I always tell them is job searching is mutually beneficial. So just like they have to like you, you also have to like them. So if they, quote unquote, don't like you, and by the way, rejection could mean so many different things, but if they don't choose you, you have to look at it as like, okay, well, I don't want to choose a company that won't choose me. Like, it needs to be mutually beneficial. So instead of looking at it like, oh, you're not good enough, look at it like, okay, that wasn't the right match, right? So that's how we can kind of rephrase it. But going back to like the cost of this, so it actually takes more energy for us to scan, to constantly be on, to try to figure out what everyone thinks of us rather than just focusing on ourselves. And what happens is we end up spending more time on other people than ourselves. Like, we literally spend more time on other people than ourselves. So I want to give you a little bit of a reality check. Okay, let's do a reality check. Okay, I want to say this with love. They're not thinking about you. And everyone is focused on themselves. Truly, 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 everyone is focused on themselves, okay? We live in a world now with social media and the internet that most people's attention spans are extraordinarily short. They're not replaying your email. They're not thinking twice about your outfit. They're not thinking twice about your Instagram post. They're not doing any of those things. You want to know why? Because they're thinking about themselves. They're doing all of these things for themselves. When you think you're overthinking, they are also overthinking, right? Everyone is overthinking. So if we can just get that as like a base that everyone is overthinking, then it can make it a little bit easier. And when people do judge you, because of course it does happen, I'm not saying that it doesn't, it's usually about them and not about you. They're typically projecting something negative that they feel about themselves onto you, right? Like, if someone is giving you feedback, critical feedback, helping you be a better person, be better at your job, whatever it is, it will come from a kind and empathetic place. If someone is being judgmental, rude, saying something that's inappropriate, that is never a reflection of you, and it is always a reflection of them, okay? Think about it. Just really think about it. Have you ever had someone say anything mean or rude to you and they seemed so happy and put together? Probably not. Those people that are mean and rude or say things or judge, those are people that aren't happy in their own lives for whatever reason, right? And it is literally always those people who aren't happy that are the ones that are doing these things and saying these things. So if we can just sort of normalize that and say, okay, and those people are not happy, I would not want their lives, so why would I listen to them? Why would I listen to them? It can help us understand that our imaginary audience that we have in our head is just a projection of our inner critic, right? Like, we are our own worst critic. Our imaginary audience is just our inner critic. It's not actually facts of what other people think about us. And what happens is that real freedom comes when we actually realize the judgment that we fear is often something that we've internalized, not something that we have facts or experience on, right? And again, this comes from conditioning, from society. Maybe we were told negative things growing up. Maybe we were bullied. Like, there could be a plethora of reasons why we feel this way, but it comes from these aspects. And the thing is, it's not always real and it's not always valid at the end of the day. So knowing this and understanding this, how can we actually get to a place where we're going to reclaim our power? Okay. So what we need to do is we need to notice ourselves and think when we're performing, like, who am I trying to impress right now and why? Like, what is happening that we are trying to impress someone and why is this happening? And instead of judging ourselves when we realize this, because we also don't want to keep judging ourselves, just come from a place of curiosity, okay? You can ask yourself something like, what would I do if I wasn't worried about being watched? I love asking this. Like, what would you do if you thought no one was watching you, if feedback didn't matter, if, nothing really mattered besides what you did? Like, what would you actually do? And I always tell people that exposure therapy in this sense in microdoses can be super, super helpful. So posting the thing you want to post, wearing the outfit, sharing the idea, and then letting it be. The way I share this with my clients is a lot of times when they're, applying to a job, I'm like, just apply. Like, pretend it doesn't matter. Pretend that there's no one is going to see it, and just apply to the job and then let it be and see what happens, right? We're still taking the aligned action. They're still applying. They're doing the networking, but they're detaching any sort of outcome from it. And by detaching any sort of outcome, we can get to a place where we're not worried about what people will think because we're not expecting an outcome. What has to happen, and I often talk about this in different senses, is building the self-trust. You have to get to a point where even if you feel other people's opinions or you have these imaginary audiences, even if you still have that, you want to get to a point where your own opinion weighs more than the imaginary audience, okay? You want to get to a point where your own opinion has more weight than the audience you've imagined in your head. Okay. And the way you do this by building self-trust, the way you build self-trust is practicing making decisions and standing by them no matter what. And you can start with micro things like, deciding what to eat, what to wear that day, what time you go to bed, like small little things, and you can build this up. But you practicing this in micro doses will help you build that self-trust, which will help amplify your own voice, and it will start to dim the imaginary audience's voice, which is what we want. Something else you can do is use grounding practices to reconnect to the real world. So something that I really encourage all of my clients to do, and something I do myself, is nervous system regulation and mindset work. So things like, touching grass, doing a meditation, those are all really great nervous system regulation tools to get to a place where you're calm and you don't have to listen to this imaginary audience as much, but also doing subconscious reprogramming or mindset work, things like affirmations, getting off your phone, language reprogramming, so that you're actually telling yourself like, hey, I'm going to start trusting myself more. I'm not going to listen to all this other feedback that I'm getting everywhere else. I'm going to start grounding myself so that I can start building that self-trust. So I just want to give you a journal prompt here that I think can be really helpful, and I kind of already gave this, but just kind of officially a journal prompt is, if no one else was watching, what would I give myself permission to do? Okay, I'm going to repeat that. If no one else was watching, what would I give myself permission to do? Okay, this is a great journal prompt to reflect on. I recommend doing some sort of nervous system regulation before you do it so you can kind of get in a calm state, and then really write out, just free write what you're thinking and feeling and see how it goes, okay? What that energy is and what's coming up for you. And I really just want to reiterate that no one is thinking about you as much as you think they are. And this is not rejection. I know this can be triggering and feel like, oh no, they're not thinking about me. I want them to think about me. But this is not rejection. This is freedom. This means that you don't have to perform. You just have to live your best life, that you have to show up and be authentic to who you are. That's what this means. So I encourage you to try to let go of this imaginary audience and let in the version of yourself that's free to just do, be, create, and express without needing an applause and an audience. Do the journal prompt, see what's coming up, and I think that'll give you a lot of clarity to start really releasing that audience that's listening to you. I hope you liked this episode. If you did, I would really appreciate a 5-star review wherever you're listening to it. It really encourages me to keep bringing these amazing podcast episodes to all of you. I hope y'all have an amazing week, and I'll catch you in the next episode.